NFL draft nerds, welcome in. It is Mock Draft Monday, and we've got our first two-round mock draft for the entire NFL here on the channel. This draft cycle, 2025 NFL draft, is a few months away. Excited for it. Excited to get into this two-round mock draft. Going to try to keep the picks and the analysis concise, clean, clear, get you in and out of here as fast as possible. This is going to be predictive. We're running this over on NFL Mock Draft Database Simulator. Been a little bit of a shakeup at the top of the draft with the Raiders winning this past weekend over my Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Giants now have the top overall pick. And I'm not going to get crazy with this one. I do think they're going to be taking a quarterback. I think the Giants ownership a little bit risk averse. So I think they might view Shedeur Sanders as the safer pick. Will the Sanders camp allow him to go to New York? I have no idea how all that's going to play out. But as of right now, the Giants are at the top. I think they're going to take quarterback, and I think they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. The New England Patriots, they could say, we're going to trade down. We're going to sell this pick to the highest bidder. We're going to trade down. We're going to amass extra draft capital. They could do that. No doubt about it. But as I said in my Jaguars mock draft earlier, we're going to explore the idea of the Patriots saying, nah, we're sticking, we're picking, we're getting the best player in this draft. It's Travis Hunter. If we move down, we're not getting Travis Hunter. We know that. So we are going to stick and pick. We're going to take Travis Hunter for the New England Patriots, which I think would be awesome. I personally would love to see him catching passes from Drake May. But either way, if he's playing cornerback opposite Christian Gonzalez, catching passes from Drake May, a little bit of both, whatever it may be, Travis Hunter's the best player in the class. At number 3, that leaves the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Cameron Ward is on the board. You've got some teams that might want to trade up and jump each other to potentially get the only other quarterback in this class that most folks in the draft world are kind of viewing as the 2 first rounders, which is, of course, again, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And so the Jaguars are trading down with the Raiders, who the Raiders just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars this past weekend. Last night, it was a really ugly football game. But the Jags trading down here to 6. The Jaguars are getting a first, obviously 6 overall, second round pick, and their third round pick, the Raiders' third round pick. So the Jaguars getting a nice haul to move down to 6 in order for the Raiders to move up to get their quarterback. Cam Ward, he kind of feels like a Raider to me. He's got that swag. He's got that edge to him. That would be a lot of fun. Again, I've talked about these 2 quarterbacks. I don't view either of them as top of the first round type guys, but that's kind of what happens at this position when you do have talented players, which they both are. Very talented football players. Again, there's just enough questions for me with both of them that I don't really view them in that light. Now, the Tennessee Titans, they're going to take Abdul Carter here at 4. I've mocked him to them quite often. I just think it's a great fit. Abdul Carter playing alongside Jeffrey Simmons on that defensive front could be absolutely disgusting for the Tennessee Titans. And yeah, you'd like to continue to fortify the offensive line and really make that a strength. But at this point, Abdul Carter, the best player available on my board. Cleveland Browns, Mason Graham to pair up with Myles Garrett there on the defensive line would be absolutely filthy. Will Campbell, I don't have as a blue chip prospect. Kelvin Banks, not anywhere near a blue chip prospect. The blue chip guys I have left are Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Malachi Starks. We're going to go ahead and put Mason Graham on the board. I just think him and Myles Garrett on the same defensive front could be fireworks. Now, Jacksonville Jaguars sitting here at number 6. I mocked Will Johnson to them earlier this morning. I'm going to do the same thing here, not changing anything there because, look, Will Johnson is a prototypical corner. The Jaguars need a prototypical cornerback 1 right now. And so the need that they currently have matches up with the value here. You have Will Johnson now and Tyson Campbell and Jarian Jones. You have a nice nucleus of cornerback talent. Plus, Ronald Darby could still be on the team next year. Buster Brown likely will still be on the team. You've got upper echelon talent at the top and some depth throughout the cornerback room to really help improve that pass defense that needs help. Carolina Panthers, this is a pick that I've made in the past that I'm excited about. Look, the Panthers have invested a lot at running back lately. Chuba Hubbard, they just gave him $8 million per year. Not crazy, but decent money. Unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks has been dealing with knee injuries. And I'm going to give the Carolina Panthers Ashton Genty because he is a blue chip prospect on my board and because I believe they have what they need on their team to actually make the most of a pick of a running back like Ashton Genty. They have a really nice offensive line when it comes to run blocking. Bryce Young is developing talent. Ashton Genty can absolutely take that offense over the top with his ability to run with vision, patience, unbelievable tackle breaker, unbelievable contact balance. He's got explosiveness. He can run from the gun. He can run from under center. He can hit outside zone, inside zone, whatever gap schemes you want to run. Ashton Genty can do it. So I would absolutely love that pick for them. New York Jets at 8. What are they going to do? Let's take a look at the big board here. Tedero McMillan, that would make sense potentially if Devontae Adams isn't still there. We just have no clue what the Jets are going to look like after this offseason. I think Will Campbell makes a lot of sense for them. Malachi Starks is my final remaining blue chip prospect. Do they want to go safety here? I really don't think that they would, honestly. I think that Will Campbell, of the picks that make sense for them, I think Will Campbell might be the best because I'm not a huge fan of Jerome Simpson. Elijah Vera Tucker has been getting injured a lot. You plug Will Campbell in on one of those interior offensive line spots, and he is a stalwart. He's going to be a good player for a long time. So I like that pick a lot for them. And it would have made sense for the Bears as well. Kelvin Banks, to me, it's just too rich for him. His balance issues really concern the heck out of me. And I'm going to make a bold move here. Josh Simmons is the best tackle in this class, bar none. They could really use a left tackle. Yes, he's coming off the ACL. No, I don't care. Josh Simmons to the Chicago Bears. Would love that pick for them. And that leaves the Saints with an interesting decision. They could go Tedero McMillan. They could certainly go James Pierce Jr., Luther Burden, Malachi Starks, Michael Williams. I'm going to say they go Shamar Stewart, who just looks like a New Orleans Saints defensive end. 290 pounds. He's big. He's hulking. He's athletic. He's a freak. That feels like a New Orleans Saints pick there. Now, San Francisco 49ers at 11 overall. A lot of different directions we could go. Seems like Debo's not going to be there for a super long time, but they still have Ayuk. They just drafted Ricky Pearsall. Are they going to go wide receiver again? I don't think so. Luther Burden would be a hell of a replacement for Debo, though. That would be a lot of fun. Tedero McMillan would offer them a different sort of skill set. But I'm going to give them Walter Nolan to be the next dominant interior penetrator of that defensive front. I think he's being a little undervalued by some in this class. We've done this one before. We'll stick with it. Malachi Starks to the Dolphins at 12. Looks like Javon Holland's going to be moving on. He is a blue chip prospect, final blue chip prospect off the board for me. The Colts, looking at their roster, they could have really used Malachi Starks as well. They could use a tight end. I do have, I misspoke. Tyler Warren is just outside of blue chip for me. Confusing myself a little bit. But at 13 overall, I think he is a value. He's a top 10 prospect on my board. Tyler Warren, if he was just a little bit more juiced up from a speed perspective, he would be easily a blue chip prospect. And also you've seen flashes of his ability to be a dominant blocker, and I think he can be. But if he just had a little bit more completeness there, but such a versatile player, you can run him out of the backfield. You can run him tight end, H-back, slot, great receiver, great hands, more nimble than you would expect at his size, 260 pounds. Yeah, Tyler Warren for the Colts. And his ability to impact the run game with Anthony Richardson, with Jonathan Taylor, that could be just devastating. Indianapolis Colts, Tyler Warren, Cincinnati Bengals. I would love for them to land James Pierce Jr., who is my top edge. He's a borderline top 10 guy for me. It seems like the draft community's kind of soured on him a little bit. I don't know why. I think that he's going to be a dominant pass rusher who is more disruptive against the run than given credit for. So James Pierce Jr. would be really fun. Doesn't have to change that color scheme too much going from Tennessee to Cincinnati. Dallas Cowboys, a lot of people like Ashton Genty for them. How about we keep it in state with Texas A&M edge rusher Nick Scorton, who I think played a little heavy this year, but his combination of pass rush moves, bend, strength, explosiveness. I personally have him rated higher than Michael Williams. We'll see how it ends up playing out, but Nick Scorton makes a lot of sense for them. And that leaves a number of good players on the board for the Arizona Cardinals. I also think that they need help up front on the trenches. Michael Williams, rare physical profile. We'll put it that way. He needs to develop as a pass rusher. I think he's going to be a great run defender, but his length and explosiveness at his size is pretty rare stuff there. Seattle Seahawks, looking at what they've got going on here, I still personally think Kelvin Banks is going to fall down the board more than people expect here. Josh Connerly is probably the best pure pass protecting tackle available on the board here. If they wanted to go in that direction and have two just great pass protectors on either side, I think personally I would prefer to see Tyler Booker go there. And I think that they might value him in that regard as well. I think he's going to really, assuming Geno is still the quarterback, which I think he should be, he's going to help make sure that Geno has that pocket to step up into. He's also going to clear rushing lanes at an extremely high level. His power at the point of attack and his anchor and his hands and pass protection, pretty special stuff. I love Tyler Booker. So he comes off the board there. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they want to end the slide of T-Mac. Is Chris Godwin back? That's a big question. We don't know the answer. Be coming off an injury. I think they would like to have him back. I think Luther Burden would actually be a better one-to-one replacement for Chris Godwin and complement to Mike Evans, but obviously T-Mac could be a great protege for Mike Evans. At edge, we've seen a lot of guys come off the board already. I'm going to go Luther Burden. I think that would be an amazing replacement and complement for Mike Evans, assuming Chris Godwin heads elsewhere, which I don't think should be assumed, but that's what we're going with here in this mock draft. Atlanta Falcons, they could use edge, they could use linebacker. They're going to take the best of both worlds in their mind in Jalen Walker. I think it's rich for Jalen Walker, but I think he's going to go earlier than I think that he should, quite frankly. Now, the Los Angeles Chargers, they could go a number of different directions. Really like Kenneth Grant for them. I really like Colson Loveland, the two Michigan guys. Obviously, there's clear reasoning for either of those guys, but they got to go get Tetairoa McMillan if he's still on the board here, which he absolutely shouldn't be. It's just kind of the way this one shook out. There's going to be folks that fall that just should not. And Tetairoa McMillan to me is one of them. T-Mac to the Chargers. That'd be a lot of fun for Justin Herbert and kind of complement what they have already. I know Quentin Johnston's there, but I don't think that should be viewed as like a franchise piece. But Ladd McConkey and Tetairoa McMillan would be some really impressive weapons for Justin Herbert moving forward. Houston Texans, they're going to take Kenneth Grant off the board. I think that they've got some dude like Danico Autry is a really good player. I think that getting Kenneth Grant, the big 340-pound interior defensive lineman, can play nose. He's got more flexibility and explosiveness than you would expect at 340, and he's just a consistent football player. I would like that one a lot. The Broncos, they locked up offensive tackle. What are they going to do here? What are they going to do? Colson Loveland is a really nice pick for them. Makes a lot of sense. Going to that Sean Payton offense, helping Bo Nix out. The Los Angeles Rams, where are we going to go for the Rams? Emeka Ibuka, depending on what happens at receiver, could be a good fit. I think Josh Connerly could be a good fit. But you know what I would really like? How about Cameron Williams going to the Los Angeles Rams? This is a football team that wants to get downhill, smash mouth style run game. Cameron Williams, he fits that bill. That would be interesting. Now we've got the Washington Commanders up next. I would love to see Caleb Johnson to the Commanders because he's got sweet feet and they have a really impressive run game going. Very creative with Cliff Kingsbury, with Jaden Daniels, Caleb Johnson to really, really set that offense over the top there. Pittsburgh Steelers, Siobhan Revell falls to them here. I think that would be a really good fit. He's got that length, that aggressiveness, the athleticism at his size. He is coming off a knee injury, but that's why he's available here at 25 instead of going off the board much earlier in the first round. Baltimore Ravens got a lot of options here. Kelvin Banks could make sense for them. One of these defensive line prospects who I'm a big fan of, Derek Harmon, Tyleik Williams as well. Either of those guys could potentially make sense. You look at the interior of the offensive line, Jonas Savanea could make sense for them. I do project him more of a guard than a tackle personally. A lot of options. Nick Manwari would be really something, pairing him up with Kyle Hamilton in that backfield, defensive backfield. Usually the Ravens kind of align with me when it comes to the draft, and I'm just not in on Kelvin Banks with those balance issues. I wonder if they would take a Josh Connerly and say, look, this guy has the potential to be an all-world pass protector for Lamar Jackson. Great athleticism, great length. I could see it. Let's do it. Of the tackles that were still on the board, he's the one that has those prototypical traits to actually become a big-time offensive tackle and pass protection. Derek Harmon, Tyleik Williams, they could both make sense. I don't think Benjamin Morrison makes sense here. Zaire Thomas, Darian Porter, guys with length, athleticism. I kind of like the idea of Tyleik Williams. So I think he's going to test incredibly well. And it'll be interesting to see what he kind of weighs in at during the pre-draft process, because he's added weight. He's played smaller before. He's a really explosive athlete I think the Green Bay Packers could fall in love with. Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is actually a good landing spot for Kelvin Banks. If there's a coaching staff, an offensive line coach who can get the most out of Kelvin Banks and kind of hone in on what he does well, which he has good overall feet in pass protection, in my opinion. He gets his hands in the right spot at the right time, but he just leans a lot in the run game. He falls off blocks a little bit once you start moving around. Could Jeff Stoutland get the most out of him long term? I think he potentially could. Buffalo Bills. They could go in a lot of different directions here as well. Would love Derek Harmon for them. Landon Jackson would make sense. Princely Umanmielen. But there's a pick that I just absolutely love for them. And it is Xavier Watts. He is just such a Sean McDermott style safety. And I think they could really use an upgrade there long term and in the short term. And he's a playmaker, a ball hawk. Get the ball back for Josh Allen. How about that? Minnesota Vikings obviously could use corner here. I think in that Brian Flores defense, assuming he's still there, Azarie Thomas is about as prototypical as it could be. Love that out of Florida State. Length, size, great press tech. That would be a good fit. Another good fit, Derek Harmon. I think the way he plays the game, actually played at Michigan State before Oregon, so has those Michigan roots there a little bit. Could see that one for sure. Kansas City Chiefs, they need an offensive tackle in the worst way at left tackle, don't they? Is there one that we like? I mean, Ariante Ursary, to me, in this range is starting to make sense for a tackle-needy team. Yeah, I think that might be where we need to go. I love the upside of Marcus Mbeau. Gray Zabel is a really good athlete, so is Mbeau, but are these guys more suited for interior play? Armand Membu, I think, maybe he could play left tackle in the league. He's been playing right tackle for them. But Ursary feels like a pick that at the very least you could get just a level of play out of him with his length and his strength and straight line explosiveness to where you can protect Patrick Mahomes a little bit better than you've been doing. And that gets us to the second round. We have got the New York Giants, who, yeah, they could definitely use corner. You're starting to talk about Benjamin Morrison as potentially being a value. He's coming off a hip injury, But I think that could make sense for them. Another fairly safe pick as long as he's able to show that he's healthy getting into this pre-draft process. Jalen Milroe, I don't know if he's going to be in this draft. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Emeka Ibuka pairing him with Malik Neighbors as pass catchers for Shedeur Sanders, that could be fantastic. I think that's the best value here on the board probably for them. At 37 or 34, the Jaguars have 34 and 37 overall. What did we do for the Tyler Booker was still on the board when we did this exercise earlier for the Jaguars. He's obviously not available anymore, but we still would like to beef up the interior of that offensive line. Where do we want to go in order to do that? I'm looking at Armand Mambu. I'm looking at Marcus Mbo and Gray Zabel. Jonah Savanea as well. It's really going to depend on the rushing attack that they want to have next year, in my opinion. Like the style of running. Do you want outside zone? You're probably not going to go. Probably not going to go with like a Jonah Savanea if that's your plan. It's a tough pick. I know everybody loves Wyatt Milam. I just don't see the athleticism, the upside there personally with Wyatt Milam. Let's go. See what else is going on here. Yeah, let's go Marcus Mbo to play either center or guard for the Jaguars. I like that fit a lot. He's great hands, developing hands. He's super aggressive, great athlete. Makes a lot of sense. All right, so Tennessee Titans do not need a corner. Spent a lot of money on corners this offseason. They could definitely use a receiver. Is there somebody we're feeling good about here? Isaiah Bond could be a lot of fun. Who's going to be throwing him the football? I don't know. They could continue to beef up their offensive line. I think Jonas Avenea is a good value here. I would like that for them. He could potentially play right tackle or guard, so that's a good fit for them. Cleveland Browns. Is there an offensive tackle that makes sense? I don't think so. Could they get younger at running back? Amarion Hampton, just absolute beast of a runner. Super explosive, violent downhill runner. That could be a lot of fun in Cleveland. Yeah, I think that's a potentially good spot. You know, Nick Chubb up there in age has dealt with injuries. Jaguars are back on the clock here at 37. And last time around, what did I do for them at 37 when we traded down here? Cannot remember what I did this morning. It's been one of those days. It's Monday, right, folks? Oh, we went Alfred Collins, which makes sense. They need a big interior defensive lineman to kind of shut down the run, pair up with Mason Smith, potentially Eric Armstead. Yeah, I like that pick for them a lot. Do the Patriots have an offensive lineman that works for them here? I think Armand Mambu. Yeah, that's where I would go. Armand Mambu. New York Jets. What are we going to do for the Jets here? A lot of good edge players still on the board that could complement what they have with Jermaine Johnson, with Will McDonald, obviously Quinnen Williams on the interior. I have Princely Umanmielen higher than this on my board, so that's where we're going to go. He's got great athleticism, length, pass rush bag. I think he's really put it together over the last couple years at Florida and then Ole Miss. The Bears could also use edge. Mike Green is an exciting player. JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer both project as starters, maybe not high end. Donovan Ezraku, that would be a lot of fun for them. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, he doesn't have like maybe any and the Bears are back up on the clock again here. Izraku doesn't have any one trait that's like dominant, but he's good across the board. He has good length. He's a good athlete. He plays with good strength. He's a good run defender. He has a bag of pass rush moves. He can hit it all, and so I think that he's going to be somebody who can complement what they have and help them continue to upgrade. And look, we don't have to be done with offensive line here for the Chicago Bears. Continuing to protect Caleb Williams, protect the investment is going to be critical. I think that Wyatt Milam maybe at guard makes sense here. I have Gray Zabel rated higher. Would be a fan of that for them. I just think he's such a good flexible move piece on the offensive line. New Orleans Saints, 42 overall. I know they have Shamar Stewart listed as a defensive lineman. He's really an edge, so that crosses that off the board there a little bit for them. Is there a wide receiver we really value? Isaiah Bond, he's starting to really, I mean, his talent level is higher than this, but hasn't been the most productive. I know he's dealt with an ankle injury at some points this year. Is his skill set too similar to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, just kind of a deep threat? I think he has more to his game than that, and so does Chris Olave, obviously. No shade at Chris Olave there. They could need a corner. Paulson Adebo is going to be a free agent. Obviously, they traded Lattimore. Is there a corner that makes sense for them? I think Benjamin Morrison makes sense. Trey Amos. I mean, all these guys. This is a good value for corners. This is a good spot to take a corner. So who fits the Saints' MO the most? I'm going to say Darian Porter. Long, athletic, former wide receiver. Absolutely shut down at Iowa State this year. San Francisco 49ers, where are we going to go for them? They've missed out on a lot of offensive linemen. They could go corner as well. They could go edge as well. Landon Jackson's starting to look like a pretty darn good value. Let's continue to beef up that defensive front. Indianapolis Colts. Yeah. Nick Manwari probably should not be on the board anymore. Kevin Winston, if he wasn't dealing with an injury, should not be on the board. So we're going to go Manwari. I think he could really fit with the Gus Bradley defense if he's still there. I don't really know what they're going to do from a coaching perspective. He's been there forever, so it seems like he'll continue to be there, but you never know. Nick Manwari, not as the single high safety, but as more of the box guy in that scenario. Cincinnati Bengals, they could use corner. They've needed a lot of help on defense this year. It's been pretty bad. Benjamin Morrison, yeah, I mean, he shouldn't be on the board at this point. So they really improved their defense with their first two picks. Dallas Cowboys, they could use a receiver to pair with CD to really... Isaiah Bond, take the top off the defense, Texas wide receiver. I like that. I love Tez here as well. Yeah, we'll go Isaiah Bond. Get some speed, some juice injected into that offense. Bond is going to be, 4.3 or sub 4.3, and he's got better catch point skills and I think body control than Xavier Worthy had coming out, so that's a good value at that spot. Deone Walker is volatile. He's got to go at some point, but I can't do it here. TJ Sanders is pretty awesome. He's undersized for a 3-tech, but he's awesome. 290, 295 pounds. He's good. He's got good length, and he locks the offensive lineman out, and he's better against the run than you would expect, and he's a really good interior penetrator. I would like that a lot for them. Omar Norman Lott, super explosive at his size as well. Shamar Turner, good athlete. We'll go Sanders. Really beef up that defensive line for the Cardinals. Miami Dolphins, what are we doing? I know that they could replace Christian Wilkins, and Calais Campbell ain't playing forever, right? Is that what we need to do? Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, big season for them. And like I said, he's super explosive at his size. Yeah, we'll go Mike Green here. I think that this is starting to be an appropriate place for him, and with his upside is pretty special. It is. Adam Marshall. He's got length, athleticism in spades. He's got a little pass rush bag. I don't know that Milroe is going to be in this draft. It's kind of weird to project some of these quarterbacks when you just don't know. And I'm not saying for Seattle. I'm just saying in general. And he's got a lot of work to do as a quarterback. Anyways, Seattle, where are we looking? We went and got Tyler Booker to shore up things on the interior. I love that pairing with my boy from UConn last year at guard. I don't know if this is going to be the year where we get that tackle we feel really good about. Maybe Wyatt Milam could play some right tackle for you. Emory Jones, I don't know. Did not show the improvement you wanted to see from him this year. We can say Wyatt Milam, and maybe he can play some tackle for us at right tackle. I think that could work out. I mean, he was unbelievable. Like, 0 pressures allowed this year, pretty much. I just don't really think he has prototypical traits to play tackle. We addressed edge and linebacker a little bit with Jalen Walker. I think you could continue to add there. Could add to that defensive line. Jahdae Barron's a great value here. Trey Amos, Max Harrison, all these guys make a lot of sense. We'll go Jahdae Barron. I think that would be just a super solid pick right there for them. Houston Texans, I mean, offensive line has been an issue for them this year. It really has. Surprisingly. Donovan Jackson, I think it's rich for him. I don't really quite see it with him. Is there a tackle convert we could get excited about? I mean, Emory Jones has all the physical ability to get fired up about here. I just don't know. Need to go value hunting here. Feel awful for Tank Dell, obviously, what happened to him this past weekend. I know they just spent money on Joe Mixon. Could they look to replace him long term or complement him? I think personally, like Travion Henderson, Nick Singleton would be great fits for them. Really don't need receiver. Although Stephon Diggs is set to be a free agent. We'll see what plays out with that. I don't think Trey Harris would be a compliment to Nico Collins. Tez Johnson would probably want to, you'd probably want him in a similar role to Tank Dell. Jaden Higgins, what an unbelievable value in my opinion. Gosh, that would be terrifying. Yeah, they should do that. As a Jags fan and somebody who covers the team, don't think that would be very exciting. But Jaden Higgins deserves to come off the board in the second round. 6'4", 215, great route runner, great hands. Denver Broncos, Deion Walker's got to come off the board at some point. Got to. They could use receiver as well. How about Tez? Somebody's got to take him before the end of this one. He is just, put him in the slot, he's uncoverable. Now, for the Carolina Panthers, is there an edge we can take we can feel fired up about? I'm not a Kyle Kennard guy, but the Carolina connection could be cool. LT Overton, I'm a huge fan of. JT as well, and Jack. I mean, those are good values at this point. Let's go LT Overton. What are we doing for the Los Angeles Chargers? Could they take Dion and get the best out of him potentially? Maybe. How about Mason Taylor? I think he'd be a great fit. We haven't talked a ton about him on the channel, but he's just like, he's a good athlete and he's got just all the good stuff from the tight end position, right? All the good stuff. The hands, nimbleness, size. He's physical. Commanders could use a receiver to complement what they've got there. They drafted they traded for Marshawn Lattimore. They could go another corner. I think Trey Amos or Maxwell Harrison would make sense for them in a big way. I think those are good values at this point. We'll go Trey Amos. Ravens, like I said, they're usually kind of in lockstep with me. Where are they going to extract the most value? They could certainly be a Deion Walker team at this point and develop him into somebody who could be just an absolute freak disruptor. And he's incredibly young. I could see that. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they need a receiver to complement George Pickens. I like Roman Wilson a lot. Harold Fannin could make sense for them as like a receiver more than a tight end because he's really not a tight end. Is running back the best value for them at this point? Nick Singleton, keep it in state. He feels like a Steeler to me. Let's do it. Let's do it. And I know a lot of folks love Quinshon Judkins. I just don't see any wiggle with him. Not a lot of nuance in his game. He's just explosive and powerful, which those are two good things to be. No doubt about it. Yeah, Max Harrison here. Help that Packers defense out a bit. Philadelphia Eagles there on the board. Is there an undervalued Georgia player available? If so, how he's going to find him, right? Realistically, I think that finding an edge here, JT's just a darn good football player. He's never going to be like a 12 sack guy in all likelihood, 10 sack guy, but somebody who you can put out there and he's going to do the dirty work and make those key plays for you. Bills have back-to-back picks. I mean, Jack Sawyer's got to come off the board at some point too here. I could see that fit. So we're saying we could use defensive line, receiver. I feel like if they're going to go receiver, it needs to be an outside guy. I just don't know that the value is really there at receiver right now for them. You know, Restrepo, I think, is a great player, but they've got a lot of guys who operate in the slot already. And they've got Keon Coleman out there, so I don't think you want like a redundant skill set. Jihad Campbell would be an interesting fit just because he's a Great athlete who can be versatile for you. And I think that McDermott could potentially get the most out of him. Young player. Should be off the board already. And they've just, unfortunate Matt Milano injuries at linebacker. Yeah, we'll go Jihad. I think that would be a lot of fun there. Who's going to be a Detroit Lion? Who fits the bill? We need to get younger on the interior. I'm not seeing the value here. Again, I'm just a little lower on Donovan Jackson than most. And I don't think he plays with like that grit, that knee biter mentality. Emory Jones could be someone they could develop. I would like that for them. I think that one makes sense. Plug him inside. Kansas City Chiefs, tight end listed as a need. I don't really think it will be, honestly. I do love Gunnar Helm in this spot for them. Again, Harold Fannin, not really a tight end. I think he's playing at like 225 pounds. They could definitely use a corner. Is there somebody we could value here that makes sense? Press man. A lot of our guys are off the board. Denzel Burke. I feel like it's a confidence issue for him. Jabbar Muhammad's too small. I do love his game, though. Davison Igbinosun is a walking holding or pass interference. Chiefs might need to go get a corner in free agency. I think Shamar Turner could make sense for them along the defensive front. I think they could get the most out of him, his athleticism. Kareem Hunt still there next year? I don't know. Obviously, they have Pacheco. I think Travion Henderson would be a fantastic complement to Pacheco. Let's do that. 3 down back, great pass catcher, great route runner, really good in pass protection, and he's a really good runner to boot. I think that would be fantastic for them. Just take some pressure off the rest of the offense. And so it's loading the draft results here, but we don't need to wait on that. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about your team's picks here. Let me know what you think in general. Really hope everybody has a happy holidays here. This might be the last video we have before Christmas. Got a little break going on, and we're going to be seeing family, hanging out, having a good time. Really appreciate the support of the channel and the growth we've had this draft season so far. We are just getting it fired up. We've got a long way to go until late April, and then we're just going to get it all restarted once again. Again, thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.